Today, we explore a powerful story about learning to stop pleasing everyone and truly value yourself. Meet Armin, a kind 20-year-old man who always carried a warm smile. He could never say no to anyone in need. From carrying heavy harvests for his neighbors to lending his only bicycle, Armin was the village's most reliable and helpful friend. Even when he was completely exhausted, he would force himself to stand up and say yes to every single request made. He spent countless nights listening to others complain about their problems, sacrificing his own precious sleep and peace of mind entirely. Every morning he looked in the mirror at his drained reflection, forcing a smile to hide the heavy burden he carried. Armin had his own life and responsibilities too. His beautiful field of golden wheat was finally ready for the upcoming harvest. One afternoon, his friend Samir rushed over in a panic, begging Armin to abandon his work and help him instead. Looking at his unharvested crops, Armin hesitated briefly. But his deep habit of pleasing others took over, and he quickly agreed. He dropped his tools on the ground and left his own livelihood behind to ensure that Samir's harvest would be perfectly safe. While Armin worked tirelessly on his friend's land, ominous, dark storm clouds began to gather rapidly across the darkening afternoon sky. A sudden, violent storm struck the village without warning. Heavy rain and fierce winds tore through the once peaceful farming valley. Standing safely under a wooden shelter, they watched the heavy rain fall. Thanks to Armin, Samir's entire crop was completely protected. Suddenly, a wave of sheer panic hit Armin. He realized his own unharvested field was completely exposed to the storm. He ran back through the freezing rain, only to find his beautiful golden wheat entirely flattened and destroyed by the storm. Falling to his knees in the cold mud, Armin wept silently. Months of his hard work had vanished in an instant. The next morning brought a clear sky, but Armin's world was shattered. He stood completely alone amidst the devastating, muddy ruins. Hoping for some comfort, he walked past Samir's house, only to see his friend happily counting money, completely ignoring his pain. He sat alone in the village square. The same people he had helped for years walked past without offering any support. A heartbreaking realization washed over him. He had sacrificed his entire life for people who did not truly care about him. Seeking guidance and comfort, Armin slowly walked up a quiet, green hill to visit the humble cabin of the wise elder. Old Hakim, a man known for his profound wisdom and gentle spirit, quietly poured a cup of warm herbal tea. With a heavy heart, Armin poured out his frustrations, explaining how he lost everything while trying to help his ungrateful friends. The wise elder placed a comforting hand on the young man's shoulder, smiling softly, with deep understanding of his painful struggle. Hakim spoke softly. "Those who only care when you constantly give are not your friends. They are merely collecting selfish benefits." The harsh truth hit Armin like a bolt of lightning. He'd confused being used by others with being genuinely loved. "You cannot pour from an empty cup," Hakim continued. "You must learn to protect your own energy and value yourself first." Leaving the cabin that evening, Armin felt a profound shift within his soul. His eyes reflected a new, quiet, inner strength. A few days later, a demanding neighbor approached Armin, casually expecting him to drop everything and fix a broken wooden cart. For the very first time in his life, Armin smiled politely, firmly shook his head, and respectfully declined the unreasonable request. The neighbor looked completely shocked and deeply offended. He muttered angry words under his breath and stormed off in pure frustration. A sudden wave of guilt washed over Armin initially. Setting boundaries felt incredibly strange and uncomfortable for his generous, kind heart. Soon, whispers spread throughout the small village. People began to gossip, calling him selfish and arrogant for finally choosing his peace. As he walked through the busy market, former friends turned their backs. The sudden isolation felt cold and terrifying at first. He ate his meals in complete silence. The house felt empty, and the heavy weight of loneliness pressed against his chest. Gazing up at the brilliant, starry night sky, he questioned his choices. Was protecting his own peace truly worth this isolation? But the next morning, something magical happened. He woke up feeling incredibly rested, completely free from the exhausting demands of others. With renewed energy, he focused entirely on his own life. He began clearing the ruined crops and restoring his damaged land. Carefully planting fresh seeds into the fertile soil, he realized that he was finally nurturing his own future, not someone else's. As days turned into weeks, tiny green sprouts began to emerge from the earth, beautifully mirroring the quiet growth within himself. Having stopped carrying everyone else's burdens, Armin finally found precious time to read, rest, and discover what truly brought him joy. He cooked nourishing meals for himself and savored every single bite. The unbearable weight of constant anxiety had completely melted away. One peaceful afternoon, a kind young woman from the village approached his fence, offering a beautiful basket of fresh, sweet fruit. She smiled warmly, genuinely thanking him for the kindness he had shown her family in the past, without expecting any favors. Accepting the gift, Armin felt a deep warmth in his chest. This was what a truly balanced and genuine connection felt like. The villagers who had previously shunned him walked by, visibly surprised to see him looking so vibrant, successful, and genuinely happy. But Armin no longer cared about their judgmental stares. He simply smiled and continued his pleasant conversation, feeling completely unbothered now. His newly planted field grew incredibly lush and vibrant, thriving far better than it ever had during his days of pleasing others. Standing proudly in the middle of his thriving land, he took a deep breath, feeling an absolute sense of liberating freedom. As a spectacular golden sunset descended upon the quiet village, Armin realized a profound truth that would forever change his life. He realized that he was never born into this world just to be a convenient solution to everyone else's endless problems. Saying no to others was not an act of cruelty. It was simply the necessary act of finally saying yes to himself. Choosing your own health and peace is never a selfish act. It is the ultimate foundation for living a truly authentic life. When you respect your own valuable time and energy, you naturally attract the few people who will genuinely respect and love you. His circle became much smaller, but it was incredibly rich. He was finally surrounded by people who loved him for him. There were no more hidden agendas or selfish demands, just pure companionship, mutual support, and a beautiful, shared sense of peace. Looking into the dancing flames, Armin knew he had successfully reclaimed his power. He was finally the author of his story. Remember this powerful lesson. Stop shrinking yourself just to fit into places where you are only valued for what you provide. Plant your roots firmly, protect your precious energy, and watch how beautifully your life blossoms when you finally choose yourself first. Thank you for joining us on Daily Spark Joy. Always remember to value yourself, stay authentic, and keep sparking that joy.